Good afternoon, everybody. This is Mark. We're back here for the daily recap. I want to apologize for really not being around the last few weeks. I've been fighting a little bit of pneumonia, and it's definitely sort of knocked me out. But I'm trying to come back. I'm fighting back. So Scott is actually off. Had to run an errand today, so I am back in the chair at least for today. So what do we have going on? So basically, this market obviously has staged a very nice 2 to 3 week rally. And it has consistently really just been, we've been going from sector to sector. First you had the high beta that rallied, then you had some of the oils, then you had some of the banks. Now you're having some of the basically stuff that has just been, thrown over with the bathwater. They've come to life, the SCTY, G-Pro, some of these stocks that quite frankly, are really don't have good balance sheets. You had transports have had a good run. We're getting to a big number tomorrow. I would assume, we've been saying the spiders, the 200-day is around 200, or 202, I'm sorry. But, 200 could be a level that is the 100-day. We could get a little resistance. I have the SPX up, but here's the spiders also. We're definitely overbought, but just blindly shorting is not working either, and that's just sort of how it happens. We are now in digestion phase, which means you just got to pick your spots a lot better. And the easy money has still been a little bit more to on the long side than the short side. Now that could all change tomorrow, and I do believe we're not just going to go straight up without a little bit of a pullback. I think we'd all welcome a pullback. The oscillator's at probably 85.90, the highest level I've seen in a long time. It's been like that now for almost a week. So I would expect this number to be a little bit to be a little bit of a game changer tomorrow. If it gaps up, I would expect that probably short term could be the top. And either way, if it's bad, it could obviously gap down. We'll have to wait and see. Overall, though, stocks, I would assume have bottomed at least for the time being. Oil has bottomed, from 26 all the way to 34. It's going to probably take a break at this point in time, but I would expect a little sideways action to, downward, and that would be a healthy market tape. So let's just go to some of the stocks we've always, we always tend to go to. Google, high beta was not in play today at all. But again, after a 60-point move, you would expect a little bit of a digestion, and that's quite frankly where we are at. And right now it's just sitting in that area. Ran, from 680s all the way to 760, 750, and now it's taking a break. So this is healthy break. Amazon, much of the same, had a huge move, had a huge move down, huge move up, almost, fib retracement, 63%, 68%. It's going to have some moving averages to contend with. I would want more downside action, to be honest, before I really get comfortable saying it's formed a nice base. I wouldn't be surprised to see it back to, 560, 550. That would be a place I would actually feel a little more comfortable. And if it starts to show weakness, you look to find opportunities to get short. Some of these other stocks, the NFLX, it hasn't rallied nearly as much, so maybe it actually continues and tries to stay up there. Apple's much of the same. It's obviously rallied from the bottom, but it has not had that that huge of a rally point-wise. It might have a few more points in it if this market wants to stay up. Facebook, much of the same. Recovered almost, it's an ascending channel, which actually is a little bearish, so you want to see some more sideways action. All the way back to 110 after it went from 95. Obviously, it has a great balance sheet, great earnings, but you have to wait and see what happens. But then, let's go to some of the banks. The banks, the Jamie Dimon bottom, as it's been called on CNBC at this point in time. He put money to work, looks great. I would expect to see a little bit of digestion here after it, just sort of poked its head from this level. But I wouldn't be surprised to see back to 62 very short term. So keep that in mind also. And I think much of the banks are very, very similar. They've now come out of their hibernation. They have some room, but I would healthier action would be a little bit of digestion over the next few days, and then they make another move. That's what I would see. And then obviously Goldman Sachs just putting it down there. It's over some key moving averages over the 21-day and 10-day moving average, which hasn't been for a little while. Probably the first time in 3 days, and the first time in 2016. We'll go from there. Then you had some, oil. USOs, again, as I said, it's, hovering right now. It seems to have bottomed at least short term. you're contending with a key moving average right here. But overall, we'll have to wait and see if it's, the next move is to the 40 range. Again, I'd like to see a pullback, maybe back to 31, 32, or just digestion over the next week or so, based on what I see in the move. But I wouldn't be surprised, I'm giving you every scenario. I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing just pop and grind higher because, technically it's actually relatively contained from what I'm looking at. And then you had some of these little guys, that we don't really mention very often. FCX, X, that had just tremendous moves from, much lower prices. Huge percentage gainers over the last, 3 to 5 days. I would expect digestion, but maybe they've woken up a little bit, and that's a good sign. Defensive stocks, some of the stocks that we've talked about, the P&Gs still look fine, but they're just digesting. J&J right at highs. I know McDonald's had a tough day today, but overall it looks great. So, we're in this range that we just had a big travel range. IBB, something to look at. Had a nice big travel range. I actually think this has actually a little bit more room to go. So on pullbacks of any bios, which they did pull back today, probably a chance to get involved because you can just see it. It's the first time it's over the 21-day moving average all year, starting to digest a little bit, and I think the IBB has a shot back to get back to at least the 275, 280 mark near term. And then I think it will find a little digestion. So I think that has a little bit more room. I'd like to see high beta take a little bit of a break. I'd like to see oil take a little bit of a break. I'd like to see banks take a little bit of a break. Is that going to happen? I don't know. Every day I'm finding 1 or 2 opportunities to try to capitalize on. Today happened to be, I was in Disney for the last 3 days. It had an upgrade today. But this thing looks like it's going to 102, 100 to 102 pretty easily as long as we hang in there, because it just had some decent volume, and it's one that they seem to always go back to when this market starts to stabilize a little bit. We had SCTY that had a good two-day trade, but it's a beaten up stock. I'm not really looking at it. FSLR I've been trying to get involved with. And I actually just took, put it on. I tried it yesterday, it didn't really work. Tried it again today, took some overnight. It's looking like it's a nice little base, so we'll have to wait and see. And again, that has had good earnings, so you have to, take that with a grain of salt. That's what you want to see. You want to see stocks that have good earnings, that are trying to form some bases and get involved on pullbacks. And obviously, you try to fight for your prices across the board. So overall, guys, this number is going to be big tomorrow, and we'll have to wait and see. If we do get a gap up, I think that could be the short-term top. And if we get a gap down, obviously that might, it might have been today. Who knows? But either way, I think digestion is in the cards. But overall, I don't think we're going to get. I think the VIX stays down for a period of time, and at some point you'll get some fear again. I don't think that's over with, but I think for the time being, just take it slow and really just try to position yourself that you can be flexible both long and short. Hope you had a good day today. I'm getting a little tired as I'm talking, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. Have a good night.